You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, good morning, good evening, good I know my Australian accent actually sucks, but my name is Paul.
It's actually not too bad, at least on the good A part. My name's Rob, and I won't even try, but I'm very, very happy to be here with you. I will try to do a good job on the show today, and super grateful that you're here with us today. It means a tremendous amount. I know we say it a lot, and yet we don't say it enough. You guys rock.
Couldn't agree more. Got a good question today. A lot of questions are coming in. We greatly appreciate that. If you have a question, askdroneu.com, because we like to help. But I like today's question. In the past year, we've done questions about should I buy this drone versus this drone, but I like the way that this particular question was formatted because he's very specific. He's like, I got $2,000. These are the deliverables that I want to do. What should I do? And I recently saw an ad from they're not even a school, but someone offering like a photography class, I think it was. And honestly, it was one of the best ads I've ever seen. And I really did love it because the guy was really down to earth and he's like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about specs. I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to tell you what works for me in getting clients. And I'm just like, well, it's nice to know there's someone else out there that thinks the same way. But I'm really excited for today's show because when we speak in the context of this question, I think the answer is actually quite simple. And I also want to illustrate how the answer to this particular question opens up the doors to other opportunities that are not able to be served with some of these newer, cheaper drones like Mavic Air 2 that's in front of us, the Mini 2. So I'm actually really excited about this particular question because I think it's really, really valuable for people who at the end of the day want to get the best, smooth, sexy videos that just takes their quality above the rest. And it's not hard if you're always following a system, you understand, and you're practicing and you're really trying to get that creative nature out. So I'm not going to lie, we're going to get right into this question, but it's brought to you by... We've got a bunch of new classes coming out. Our roofing inspection class, it's ready. I know it's getting up on the site right now. Also, we're redoing the advanced aerial videography. The Mini 2 Don't Crash course is going up. We finally got the Skydio 2 Don't Crash course up. That delay was 100% my fault, just so all of you know. After writing that article about, is it really legal and safe to fly Skydio? And after talking to those federal prosecutors, I had to redo a part of the Don't Crash course to just put a disclaimer in here and say, look, we're going to teach you how to fly this thing. You're really not ultimately in control. When the shiza hits the fan, it will hit the fan and there's no recourse. So just understand that. And there are ways to avoid situations, but you can't control everything. You can't control the weather. I'm not Mother Nature. I try to be, but I'm not.
Father Nature.
What I like to do is I like to fly along the clouds and release silver dioxide and just cause the monsoons.
Wait a minute, that's illegal. You can't fly along the clouds.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm really excited for this show. If you're a Drone U member, there's a lot of new classes coming out. We took the last year and just went hardcore into getting new content out while also getting that new props system out. And I just want to thank all of our first run of props clients. You guys have been awesome. You're really, 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 your feedback has been amazing. And I'm just so glad that we're finally at a point where we're helping build drone programs. And this last sponsored bit, the question brought to you by, a lot of people ask me one question, Rob. How is props different from Drone U?
Yeah.
Drone U was built for pilots. Props was built for teams. That simple.
Bada bing.
All right, let's hear the question.
Hi, my name is Dominic, and I'm looking to further my passion in videography through drones. I like the Mavic series because of the portability, and I have a $2,000 budget. So I could either get the Mavic Air 2 for $1,000, and my dad's Inspire 1, he would sell me for $1,000 plus all the accessories, and it has an X3. Or I could get the Mavic 2 Pro for $2,000. What do you think would be the best for town reels and real estate?
Fabulous question. Thank you, Dominic. Really appreciate it. AskDroneU.com. $2,000 is actually not a small budget. I mean there's some things that you can do with that.
Let's be real. You're starting a business with $2,000.
Yeah.
That's cheap. The startup cost is low.
The one thing that he doesn't say, and perhaps we can deduce by the lack of information, that you don't have a drone currently, but you don't say what you currently have. But based on the question, I'm going to assume nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, he did talk about, I really want to do town reels. So I'm guessing he's like kind of focusing on like tourism videos or videos for the city. And I like how he said real estate. I would always say, once again, we're talking about this in the sales class right now, is focus on what type of real estate broker you want to work with. We talk specifically in the sales class about
be very careful about that.
Success that we've had with particular individuals and the type of characteristics that they display. But look, there's a lot of information out on the internet for what's, the best drone for real estate, sub $2,000 for real estate. Let's just call it the best drone for videography, sub $2,000. And look, there are a lot of people that have classes on YouTube that talk about how you can use the Mavic Air 2 to do real estate. And in normal conditions, they're 100% right. But what those people miss, that they don't have the experience in, is that when you have aircraft that can fly in different flight modes, you have the ability to fly on weather days that some of these other pilots cannot fly. You can get shots that these pilots with these Mavic Air 2s, they can't get. I'm talking about super close proximity, the stuff that really engages the clients, the type of shots that actually give you the competitive advantage. But not only that, I would argue that with the Mavic 2 Pro, being kind of the solution, having the ability to hack it, get attitude mode, having the ability to have that, full 1-inch sensor. I mean, at the end of the day, the Mavic Air 2, it's a great drone. But the sensor is still GoPro size. When you can go to that full 1-inch, you've got a lot more light to play with. So you can salvage situations that maybe weren't the best photo, but you can also really get so much more detail out of the highlights and shadows. And so I would say, really short, before I get too deep in context without explaining macro, I would say ditch the Inspire 1, ditch the Mavic Air 2, and I would go for the Mavic 2 Pro, just like he alluded to, under a couple of circumstances. One, he hacks it to get attitude mode. So that way, if something happens where GPS goes awry, you do have options of bringing and saving those drones. Two, sensor quality, right? Much better video quality out of the Mavic 2 Pro than this, in my opinion. But three, I would say that Mavic 2 Pro, being a heavier aircraft, again, you've got more flexibility and flight characteristics. You're going to be able to fly on more weather days than a Mavic Air 2.
Sure.
Maybe not, maybe it's only 5% of more days out of the year than your competition. But look, at the end of the day, if you go to a site and you go to the realtor or you're a producer and you're like, it's just too windy, I can't fly. Versus, you know what? I took advanced aerial videography with DroneU, and I learned how to fly in attitude mode. And on super windy days, I know exactly how to still get the shots no matter what.
Maybe even get better shots.
I would actually agree with that sentiment. That said, you're going to be able to solve problems when other people have failed. That's going to give you a leg up. It's going to give you an opportunity. And I'm not going to lie, Rob, I've had personal opportunities where other drone pilots were called and they couldn't deliver. And I could. All because of practice, all because I knew the aircraft, how to take advantage of super windy days. But not only that, there's one other feature I want to talk about Mavic 2 Pro. Why Mavic 2 Pro? I kind of alluded to the color gamut. But we can also get an anamorphic lens for the Mavic 2 Pro that's really going to give us kind of that hyper wide cinematic movie look. A lot of new pilots are not doing that.
Most.
Yeah. And it's like one of the easiest, fastest ways to one up the competition. Because when a realtor looks at that, it's like, oh, it's like the intro to a movie. And you're like, yeah, I love making your stuff look great,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I gotta train my mind on how to talk and work
Back
with
in
some
sales
people.
class.
Yeah, literally. But that said, I also don't want to negate that it is 100 entirely possible, 100% to be able to use a Mavic Air 2. The reason I would say don't go Mavic Air 2 plus Inspire 1, which he mentioned. Is the Inspire 1, the batteries, you're really not going to get more than, say, 12 minutes on a flight. And I don't think it's going to bridge the gap enough between the higher end deliverables with that Inspire 1. Look, the Inspire 1, in my personal opinion, is one of the funnest drones to fly. It was like before DJI decided to play daddy and put all these like super settings that slow everything down. But I love the flight characteristics, but with the 12 megapixel camera, once again, the sensor size on the Mavic Air 2 and the Inspire 1 X3, same size.
Okay, so the Mavic Pro or Mavic 2 Pro is going to have a better sensor than even the Inspire 1 X3.
Yep.
And you can't change that camera out, right?
No,
on the Inspire
you can't.
1, so that's part of the issue.
Well, I mean, Inspire
Not
1,
easily.
you can fly the X5.
Okay.
But there's a reason there's an X5S. The X5, the original one, had a lot of issues, focus issues, communication issues between the lens and the body. Like, there were a significant amount of issues. So I personally would steer away from the Inspire 1. I think he's on the right track. Mavic 2 Pro, right? I really, really recommend hacking it to get attitude mode. It's going to allow you to do things other pilots can't, which is a competitive advantage. The anamorphic lens with an ND filter, that's a competitive advantage. And at the end of the day, you can fly a little bit more aggressively with the Mavic 2 Pro than the Mavic Air 2, especially if you know how to tune these guys. And we talk about that in the Don't Crash course as well. So
yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to be flying that soon. So
yeah, this is Rob's new drone.
I'm kind of excited about it.
In fact, you should probably register this under your name.
Yeah, it's actually bigger than I thought it would be. Interestingly.
I'm not touching that one.
Ay.
And for a PC response without a joke, there you go. I think everyone who's been listening to us long enough knows.
Let me just say, no, you're not.
Anyway. Look, we all got a little laughter. We got to be lighthearted, and there's my lightheartedness. But going back, smooth video, I'm going to say a Mavic 2 Pro over the other options that he has. Also, another thing is I know it's your dad's drone, right? We don't want to think negative thoughts about your dad, but how old are those batteries? How many times have they been cycled? In reality, how much are we really going to get out of those batteries? And to me, it just doesn't really seem like a good idea, especially because if your dad is anything like my dad doesn't fly drones, by the way, but if I needed to go borrow a piece of tech for a day or two, I'm pretty sure he would let me do that. But anyway,
that's a really good point.
I had to leave that for the end.
We haven't even talked about that. Yeah, sorry, pops.
Yeah, sorry, dude. But you shouldn't be selling your used equipment to your son anyway. So.
Well, who knows? And he's probably going to sell it to somebody else, and so maybe it won't be there to borrow. But
yeah.
If you can't sell it, then it probably will be.
Now, there's one last caveat I do want to say is if you're in an area like a beachy area, you got a lot of convective winds all the time, it might be worth thinking about getting into an Inspire 2 because the H shape of that aircraft and the ability to have that pendulum effect, to have that extreme stability might open up opportunities once again on days that other people can't fly. And so when you're thinking about your business, the true propensity for success is going to be determined on how much, one, you work at it, and then two, how much you research. Because if you're working all the time, you're practicing your flight skills, you are going to build the confidence to fly in certain environments that other people aren't willing to do. And it may be based in fact, it may be based in perspective. And I would say that 90% of the time it's based on perspective and not actual facts about the weather. So,
but that's a big step up in budget.
Well, it is. I mean, you can get an Inspire 2 for I think $3,200, and that comes with the X4S, which is a fire camera, but it's no Hasselblad. That's the thing. The color gamut on that Mavic 2 Pro, well, I mean, that was when DJI really took the step up into more advanced sensors, and you can tell the difference on almost every shot. It's my favorite drone to travel with.
Yeah.
Because I can get these insanely beautiful panos. I just wish we had a little bit more or a little less field of view, but that's when I rip out the Inspire 2 and just go ham. So anyway, there's my answer, Rob.
So buy both?
Yeah, right.
No.
We're all made of money.
No,
right?
I think that answers the question. And let us know how you do. We really like not just answering the questions, but hearing back from you all about, I went ahead and did what you said, and this is what I've done with it. That's the best part.
Maybe that's how we. Maybe that's the new segment we need to do for the show. Is kind of like Shark Tank. We go.
I was just thinking that.
Go back.
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
people we've helped and tell their stories.
Well-
and I honestly think we should do that because we have a problem here at Drone U, which is there are people in this industry that market a lot more, and at the end of the day, a lot of it is fake. It's overhype, and they don't teach from experience. And what I love and what gives me so much hope is people come to Drone U, they dig in, and they're like, no one has anywhere near the amount of content at the depth that you have. And it's really pushed my business forward. So I think, honestly, Rob, between me and you, buddy, I think we should get some of these people back on and really talk about the successes that they've had and shine the spotlight, you know?
Well, you're actually just talking about the new segment that we're going to be starting up here soon. So that's basically what that is, right? So stay tuned.
Yeah,
Just
stay
leave it at that.
tuned. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us. We do really appreciate the support. Look, if you're like me and you understand that the more you learn, the more you earn, and you understand that our minds are like a muscle. If we don't work them out, well, they don't get any stronger. That's why Drone U is $47 a month. You get over 36 classes. Why? Because we know that you've always got to stay on top of your learning to stay on top of your earning in the competition. If you're not doing that, join us, thedroneu.com. You won't be disappointed. Super excited too, by the way, to move our community into the App Store.
Can't wait. Soon. Very soon.
Thanks again for joining us. My name is Paul.
My name is Rob.
This is Ask Drone U.